You're not failing with women because you're boring. You're failing because you're invisible. They don't see you as a man to remember. They see you as one of the rest. But what if I told you there's a way to change that? To walk into any room and have her wonder who you are before you say a word. This is not about fake lines. This is not about pretending to be someone else. This is about mastering a power most men never even know they have. And if you're not ready to hear this, stop watching now. Because once you know what I'm about to reveal, you'll never unsee it. There's a reason she's not texting you back. There's a reason you walk away from conversations feeling like something's missing. It's not your voice, it's not your haircut, it's not your vibe. It's the fact that you never learned the art of conversation, not just talking, but talking in a way that pierces through the noise in her mind, in a way that triggers the part of her that's biologically wired to pay attention. And before we get into it, I need you to comment this below. It's my turn, because it is. It's your turn to reclaim what modern society has trained you to suppress. Now, listen closely. Number 1, stop overvaluing her. She doesn't think about you because you gave her no reason to. You placed her above yourself before she even knew your name, convinced that her existence alone warranted your attention, respect, and affection. And that was your first mistake. You made her feel like a celebrity in your presence, while she barely saw you as more than background noise. You flooded her with attention, double-texted when she delayed replies, praised her beauty like she hadn't heard it 10 times that day already, and adjusted your tone, pace, and posture to make sure she didn't feel uncomfortable around you. All the while forgetting the one universal truth. No one respects a man who doesn't value himself more than he values others. You stripped yourself of your power the moment you gave her yours, and she could feel it, not consciously, but deep in her gut. She felt that anxious pull from your eyes, that desperate tone in your compliments, that hope buried beneath your smile that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. But it wasn't. Because you didn't walk in as the prize. You didn't walk in like a man who knows what he brings to the table. You walked in like a boy searching for approval, and women can sniff that from miles away. They don't say it, but they feel it. They see the weak eyes. They hear the need in your voice, and they run from it. You don't win respect by giving it blindly. You earn it by standing firm, by knowing that beauty is common, but real value, real character is rare. You want her to value you? Then stop handing yourself over like a donation. Start treating your time, your words, your energy like gold, because if you don't, she won't either. Women respect men who make them feel slightly nervous, men whose approval has to be earned, not bought with compliments or dinner dates. Don't pedestalize her. Observe her. Watch her actions, not her face. See if she has depth or just curves. Speak to her like she's human, not a goddess. You want her eyes to linger when you leave? Make her feel like she didn't get all of you. Leave something behind, an impression, a tone, a presence that tells her, you don't just get me because you're pretty. That's how you shift power. That's how you shift attraction. That's how you become the man she can't stop thinking about. Not because you tried to please her, but because you made her wonder if she was enough to please you. You are not the fan. You are not the seeker. You are not another admirer in her notifications. You are the man who knows what he wants, what he offers, and what he refuses to tolerate. You are not here to worship her. You are here to see if she belongs in your world. And the second you understand this, every conversation changes. Your posture changes. Your words hit differently. You stop asking how to keep her and start asking, do I even want her? That is the switch. That is the power. And until you flip it, you'll keep chasing shadows, wondering why you never feel seen. Because you were never really there to be seen. You were there to serve. And women don't chase their servants. They chase men who remind them of their worth without ever handing it to them on a silver plate. Be that man. Watch how the game changes overnight. Number 2, control the tempo. He who speaks slower commands more than he who rushes for attention. Because every word you say without conviction is a word wasted, and she can feel it. Women don't listen to what you say, they feel how you say it. And when you speak fast, jittery, desperate to fill the silence, they don't hear confidence, they hear fear. Fear of losing the moment, fear of being rejected, fear of not being enough. But when you slow down, when your pauses stretch longer than her expectations, when your words hit with measured weight, suddenly you're not just speaking, you're leading. And that changes everything. Because the moment you stop chasing comfort and start embracing control, your voice becomes a weapon, not one of aggression, but of presence. It carves space, it takes up room. And she notices. She might not say it, but internally she leans in. She listens differently. Because most men talk to gain approval, but you're speaking like you already have it. That's what tempo does. It tells her you're not afraid of a pause, you're not scared of her reaction, and you're not in a hurry to win her over. You're here to see if she even deserves to be in your presence. Think about the last time someone truly captivated you. Did they shout? Did they ramble? Or did they command the room with a calm, deliberate presence that made you want to catch every word? That's what she's wired to respond to. Not volume, not speed, but certainty. Tempo is control, and control is rare. That's why it's attractive. Because when a man slows down his speech, it tells the world he has nowhere to run, nothing to prove, and no fear of what's coming next. You want to be unforgettable in conversation. Speak like your time is more important than hers. Don't race to reply. Don't rush to impress. Let your words breathe. Let the tension rise. Make her wait for the punchline. Make her earn the next sentence. Because the man who controls the tempo controls the frame, and the frame defines the entire interaction. She might be beautiful, she might be charming, but she's not the one holding power. You are, and she'll know it the second she hears your voice. Not because you're louder, not because you're clever, but because every syllable comes with certainty. You don't flinch, you don't fold, you don't fumble to make her comfortable. You speak for impact, not approval. You speak like you've been here before. And if she can't handle that, she was never worth your time. Remember, most men are forgotten within seconds. But the man who slows down, the man who walks with gravity, the man who talks like his presence is the gift. He's the one she remembers long after the conversation ends. Be that man, be deliberate, be rare, and you'll never chase again. And that, right there, is the difference between the man she forgets and the man she remembers. And if you're ready to become that man, not just in conversation, but in every area of life, then the Stoic relationship blueprint is waiting for you in the comments. This isn't just a book. It's the culmination of what most men were never taught, never shown, and never allowed to understand. It's the key to clarity, power, and unwavering confidence in relationships. The moment you get it, it's yours, forever. You'll have lifetime access to the truth most men live and die without ever hearing. This isn't a chapter you read and forget. It's a foundation you build on for the rest of your life. And once you have it, you'll never be lost again. Number 3, be ready to walk away. Every time you hesitate to leave, you tell her you're not the one in control. You tell her she has power over you, that your value is tied to her reaction, that your confidence depends on whether she smiles, laughs, or leans in. And she feels it, not in your words, but in your hesitation. She sees it when your body tenses as the conversation nears its end. She hears it in your voice when you stretch out the goodbye, hoping she'll ask for more. She knows you won't walk away, and that's why she never stays. Because the man who can leave without hesitation, the man who treats his time like it's sacred, is the man who leaves an impact. You must become that man, not occasionally, not when you feel brave, but every single time. You think staying longer helps you win her over, but it only shows her you value the moment more than yourself. The most powerful thing you can do is leave at your peak. Leave when she wants more. Leave when the conversation is electric, when she's smiling, when she's leaning in. Not to manipulate her, but to show her that you never needed to be there in the first place. You were there by choice, and your choices are sacred, because when a man walks away, not out of anger or ego, but out of self-respect, the world moves around him. The man who leaves first is the man who is remembered. The man who says, "This was great, but I have somewhere to be," is the man she dreams about later. Not because he's playing games, but because he made her feel something rare, the feeling of not being the center of the universe. And that stings, and that intrigues, and that makes her want to chase, because most men don't leave. Most men wait, they linger, they overstay, thinking more time equals more connection. But real connection isn't about time, it's about presence, depth, mystery. When you leave, you show her you have a mission, a purpose, a life that doesn't stop for anyone. That's the man she wants. That's the man who stands out. If you can't walk away, you'll never hold frame. If you're too afraid to end the call, the text, the date, then you're not leading, you're following, and she won't say it, but she feels it. She senses when a man is holding on too tight. She may smile, laugh, even compliment you, but deep down she knows. You need her more than she needs you, and that is the kiss of death in attraction. You must flip the dynamic. You must live by this rule. I never stay longer than I need to. That doesn't mean being rude or distant. It means being selective, intentional, dominant over your own time. It means walking out of conversations because you have goals to meet, skills to build, people to impact. And if she's worth your time, she'll find her way back. And if she's not, then good. You didn't waste another minute. You are not here to prove your worth to every woman you meet. You are here to live your life with such clarity and power that women feel honored just to be part of it. And that starts the moment you realize walking away doesn't make you weaker. It makes you unforgettable. That is the art of detachment. That is the language of power. That is the moment everything begins to change. Not when you stay and hope, but when you leave and lead. Number 4, lead the emotional direction. When she feels lost in her emotions, she looks for a man who doesn't flinch. She looks for stability, not sympathy. She's not testing you for fun, she's testing you for safety. She wants to know, are you solid or are you just another man pretending? She won't ask you directly, but she'll throw you off balance with passive comments, with mood swings, with stories designed to provoke. And the average man, he follows, he adjusts. He tries to please her tone, match her energy, soften his words to avoid discomfort. But the man who leads doesn't do any of that. He doesn't react. He redirects. Because he understands this simple truth. The one who leads the emotions leads the relationship. The one who decides the pace, the vibe, the response, is the one she trusts. That's why when she's emotional, your job isn't to join her in the chaos. Your job is to be the rock that nothing can move. When she lashes out, you stay calm. When she cries, you listen without losing yourself. When she accuses or retreats, you stay grounded, not defensive. Because you understand that emotional leadership isn't about ignoring her. It's about staying above water so you can pull her out. Every time you react, you lose ground. Every time you try to appease her emotions instead of anchor them, you show her you're not strong enough to handle her depth. And she may not say it, but she will feel it. She'll pull away, not because she doesn't like you, but because you didn't lead, you followed. And deep down, she's waiting, begging, for someone who won't crumble at the first sign of challenge. She wants to feel your strength in the way you carry a conversation, not just in what you say, but in what you don't. She wants to feel your leadership in your decision-making, your calm demeanor, your unwillingness to get dragged into her storms. That's what makes her feel safe. That's what makes her feel attracted. Because in a world where every man is chasing validation, you become the exception. And the exception is always desired. To lead emotionally, you must train yourself to pause before responding. You must master your triggers. You must know who you are so clearly that nothing she says can shake it. That's power. That's presence. That's what builds trust. She doesn't want a man who reacts to her. She wants a man who leads her to a better state. And that only happens when you become immune to emotional manipulation. When your values don't bend. When your tone doesn't rise. When your direction stays firm even when she tries to change it. That's not control. That's leadership. And it's the one trait that separates the men she dates from the men she obsesses over. Become that man. Lead with grace. Respond with clarity. Speak with depth. And watch how she changes. Watch how she softens. Watch how she opens up. Not because you begged for it, but because you earned it through composure. That is the art of emotional direction. That is the secret to influence. That is the key to connection. And it only belongs to those who choose discipline over reaction, presence over panic, leadership over compliance. Choose to lead. Every moment, every word, every breath. Because the man who leads her emotions owns her attention. And the man who owns her attention owns the room. Number 5. SK frame dominant questions. Most men ask questions to seek approval, but the man who changes her behavior asks questions that demand introspection, that challenge her worldview, that shake the comfort she's built by filtering through men who only echo what she wants to hear. And when you step into a conversation with the courage to question not just what she does, but why she does it, you send a signal louder than any compliment ever could. A signal that tells her you are not here to be liked. You are here to understand if she's worth your time, worth your energy, worth stepping into the life you've built with intention and clarity and purpose. And it begins when you stop asking the questions every other man asks, like, what do you do for fun? Or where are you from? And instead you look her in the eye and ask, what do you bring to a relationship besides your looks? Not to attack her, but to see if she's ever been challenged, ever been called to step beyond the identity she's built around attention and surface validation. And you watch, not for her answer, but for her reaction. Because how she reacts tells you everything about how she sees herself. And if she stumbles, if she scoffs, if she gets defensive or evasive, then you already know she's used to being rewarded for showing up, not for bringing value. And that's the filter most men never apply, because they're too focused on being charming, on being liked, on keeping the mood light. But the man who wins, the man who lingers in her thoughts, is the one who flips the dynamic and treats her like a guest in his world. And in his world, questions have weight, meaning, consequences, and she begins to realize that she can't just coast on pretty eyes and flirtatious smiles. She must reveal who she really is, what she values, how she thinks, and that exposure is where the bond is either built or broken. And you'll notice how fast the tone shifts when you start asking questions that signal depth. Questions like, who do you admire and why? Or, when's the last time you sacrificed for someone you care about? And, what do you believe is your role in building a relationship? Because these aren't questions meant to entertain. They're questions meant to reveal. And what you're looking for is not the perfect answer, but the willingness to answer at all, the openness, the humility, the reflection, and when she gives it, when she leans in and opens up and shows you that she's not afraid to be real, that's when you move closer, not a moment before, because you are not there to sell yourself. You are there to evaluate, to lead, to decide, and if she doesn't like it, good, because that means the filter worked, and if she respects it, even better, because that means she's not afraid of strength, not afraid of presence, not afraid of the frame you've built, a frame that doesn't bend for beauty or buckle under pressure, and if she's not ready for that kind of energy, she'll leave. And that's not a loss, that's a gift, because she just saved you months of wasted time and misplaced effort. And the man who knows how to ask the right questions, not just the deep ones, but the direct ones, the uncomfortable ones, the ones that no one else has ever had the balls to ask, is the man who doesn't just have conversations, he creates impact. And she will think about that moment long after you've left, because in that moment you became real, you became rare, and in a world where every man is asking how to please her, you asked, are you even worth it? And that, right there, is the difference between the man she forgets and the man she remembers. Number 6. Limit validation. Every time you hand her unearned praise, you cheapen its power. She doesn't remember the compliments you gave her. She remembers how easily you gave them. And that ease, it says more about your self-worth than your words ever could. It tells her that your standards are low, that your admiration is automatic, that her looks alone are enough to capture your attention and your approval. And while she may smile in the moment, deep down, she loses respect. Not because she's ungrateful, but because what is abundant has no value. Women don't crave validation from every man. They crave it from the man who makes them work for it. The man who sees through the filters, through the rehearsed smiles, through the social media personas. The man who doesn't melt at her makeup or trip over his words when she bats her lashes. The man who compliments her, not because he's hoping for approval, but because she's shown real value, thoughtfulness, depth, effort. You want to stand out. Then stop being the echo of every other man she's encountered. Stop repeating what she hears daily. Instead, observe her actions. Does she bring anything to your table beyond appearance? Does she contribute to the conversation? Does she listen, or just wait for her turn to talk? Does she ask about your goals, your values, your mission? Or is she only concerned with being seen? Validate behavior that aligns with your standards, not the image that flatters your eyes. You think praise brings connection, but all it does is build a wall between you and the man you could be, the man who commands respect because he values himself more than her attention. Don't give her your admiration before she's earned it. Don't praise her for simply existing, and don't confuse kindness with validation. You can be respectful without being a doormat. You can be interested without being impressed. The strongest men are the ones who leave women wondering where they stand, not because they play games, but because they hold themselves to a code that isn't bent by beauty, and that code becomes the frame of every interaction. When she steps into your space, she feels it. She senses that this isn't the place for games, for empty flattery, for entitled energy. She knows she's with a man who sees the world through a sharper lens, who values time over curves, character over charm, and that realization changes the way she behaves. Suddenly, she wants to earn your words. She wants to know she matters to you, not because you said it too soon, but because she feels it through the way you treat your own value. And that is the essence of powerful communication. That is the essence of leadership in conversation. Not loud, not boastful, but firm, intentional, unshakable. Because the man who limits validation becomes the man who gets it in return, from the people who matter and in the moments that count. Number 7, end on your terms. The man who ends the interaction leaves a legacy in her memory. He doesn't linger for the last laugh. He doesn't wait for permission to exit. He doesn't overstay, hoping she'll invite him to stay longer. He knows when the moment is ripe, and he chooses to walk away. And that choice? It lingers. It etches into her thoughts because it's so rare. It's not the dramatic exit that catches her attention. It's the graceful one, the confident one, the one that doesn't come from frustration or ego, but from awareness. When you know your worth, you know that not every conversation needs to be prolonged. Not every vibe needs to be dragged out. Not every spark needs to become a fire. Ending things on your terms isn't about dominance. It's about dignity. It's about making sure that every interaction, whether short or long, ends with your value intact. Too many men cling. They wait for signs. They ask for signals. They stall in hopes of a number, a date, a compliment. And in doing so, they lose the very power that made the moment worthwhile. Because what she remembers isn't how long you stayed, it's how you left. Did you leave with presence? Did you leave with certainty? Did you leave while she was still interested, or after she'd mentally moved on? You don't want to be the man who waits until the vibe dies. You want to be the man who knows when to pull back, when to close the loop, when to say, "That's enough." That self-restraint is attractive. It shows you value her time, and yours even more. It tells her you're not desperate for connection, that you're selective, that your conversations aren't random, they're earned. When you end on your terms, you set the rhythm. You teach her to see you as the conductor of the experience, not just a participant. And that rhythm builds anticipation. It creates intrigue. It keeps her curious. She wonders what you're doing next, who you'll talk to after, what else is going on in your world, because you left while she still cared. And that is the art most men never learn. They talk too long, they laugh too hard, they stay too late. They dilute the magic of the moment by dragging it past its prime. Don't be that man. Be the man who understands timing. Be the man who understands impact. Be the man who walks away, not because he's lost interest, but because he values momentum. That's how you leave a mark. That's how you own your space. That's how you turn a single conversation into something unforgettable, not through volume or length, but through direction. Every word counts. Every gesture matters. And when it's time to go, go. Leave her better than you found her, but leave nonetheless. That's not rejection. That's leadership. And in a world where most men follow, the man who ends on his terms is the one who rewrites the script. Be that man, and she'll never forget you. If you've made it this far, you already know this isn't just information. It's a wake-up call, because no one is coming to save you. Not society, not your friends, not the dating apps, and certainly not her. You've been lied to, told to be nice, patient, agreeable, and it's cost you years of confusion, heartbreak, and wasted effort chasing validation that never came. But now you have a choice. Walk away and stay the same, or step into the truth that only a few men will ever dare to face. The Stoic relationship blueprint is more than a book. It's a survival manual for every man who's tired of feeling powerless, unseen, and disposable. It gives you the words, the mindset, the strategy to never feel confused or weak in relationships again. It's brutally honest, raw, and designed to flip your reality upside down, permanently. Once it's yours for life. No expiration, no subscriptions. Just the cold, liberating truth you were never meant to have. And it's linked in the comments right now. If you're ready to stop being used, ignored and overlooked, and start being respected, remembered, and wanted, then comment, "I attract, not chase." Smash that like button and subscribe. Not just for you, but for the thousands of men out there still searching, still lost, still thinking they're the problem. Help them find this. Save them from wasting their potential.